No hiding your face. More police departments are using facial recognition to help solve crimes. But as the use of the technology grows, so do privacy concerns. It was all caught on camera. In 2017, a woman entered a store in Cornelius, Oregon, stashed a $130 pair of boots in her purse, and walked out. The Washington County Sheriff's Office uploaded images of her face that had been captured by the security cameras to the office's newest crime solving tool, a facial recognition system. Within seconds, the system came up with a digital lineup of potential matches. When a deputy spoke to one of these women the next day, she confessed to the crime and was charged with theft. The case, which in the past might have never been cracked, was solved in just a day. That's just one of the many recent examples of police departments employing facial recognition to help solve crimes, ranging from shoplifting to assaults and mass shootings. But the growing use of this technology is fueling a heated debate. While some are calling it a breakthrough in policing, civil liberties advocates see it differently. They say technology isn't always accurate and could lead to wrongful arrests, especially of people of color. They also argue that the use of facial recognition is an invasion of privacy, and they fear it could be used for mass surveillance, allowing police and government agencies to secretly monitor people. This is the most pervasive and risky surveillance technology of the 21st century, says Alvaro Bedoya, director of Georgetown Law's Center on Privacy and Technology. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Those concerns led San Francisco last spring to become the first U.S. city to ban the use of facial recognition by the police and other city agencies. The move was largely precautionary since San Francisco's police department hadn't used facial recognition, but it could spark a similar legislation elsewhere. Other cities are already considering bans. However, many people argue that facial recognition is a powerful and efficient tool for keeping people safe. It could also be used for finding missing people. Instead of banning the technology, some experts say cities should craft regulations on how it's used. It's ridiculous to deny the value of this technology in securing airports and border installations, says Jonathan Turley, a constitutional law expert at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. It is hard to deny that there is a public safety value to this technology. A breakthrough in policing. You're probably already familiar with facial recognition. It is used to tag friends on Facebook, unlock iPhones, and add filters on Snapchat. It's becoming increasingly common in police departments too. Although it's difficult to say exactly how many use the technology, a 2016 CPT study found that at least a quarter of state and local police departments have the ability to run facial recognition searches. Typically, police upload an image of someone, which could come from a phone or any of the numerous cameras posted on buildings, on street corners, or in businesses and stores that we pass by each day, to a computer with facial recognition software. The software scans the image and compares it to a database of known people, such as a catalog of mugshots from previous arrests. 31 states also allow police to access driver's license photos, according to the CPT study. Police say the technology, which can search through databases of millions of people in mere seconds, saves them valuable time. In New York City alone, it led to nearly 1,000 arrests in 2018. In other parts of the country, it helped lead to the arrest of a trio of suspected jewel thieves, people who the authorities said were trying to enter the U.S. under fake names, and a man who killed 5 people in a mass shooting at the offices of a Maryland newspaper in 2018. Last December, police in Pennsylvania used the technology to nab a man who they say had assaulted a 15-year-old back in 2016. If it wasn't for facial recognition, it would still be an open case, says Michael Zinn, an officer in York, Pennsylvania. Biases and mass surveillance. However, there are concerns about the technology's accuracy. A recent study by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology found that facial recognition systems created by IBM, Microsoft, and Amazon were much better identifying the gender of white men's faces than of darker skinned or female faces. Although we often think of computers as objective, it's actually not uncommon for people's biases to creep into the technology. In this case, experts say the people who train the systems typically use databases that contain more white people than people of color. As a result of these flaws, some people worry that African Americans, women, and others might be wrongly identified and arrested. However, police departments say that instead of relying on facial recognition as definitive surveillance, they merely use it to get leads they might not otherwise have discovered. And all three companies say they've improved their systems. But even with better accuracy, there are broader privacy concerns. Civil liberties advocates point out that these systems are often being used without people's knowledge or consent, which they argue is a violation of the Fourth Amendment's ban on unreasonable searches and seizures. They also fear that the U.S. could become a surveillance state, with the government using this technology to keep close watch over its citizens. A worst case scenario already exists in China, where roughly 200 million cameras track and identify citizens in real time to keep them in line and catch lawbreakers. The government also uses facial recognition systems to monitor the Uyghurs, a largely Muslim minority. China has exported this surveillance technology to many other countries, including Zimbabwe, Ecuador, and Pakistan. And experts worry that some of these nations are now using the technology to track political opponents. It might not be long before police departments across the U.S. begin using real time facial recognition systems. In fact, according to a recent report by Claire Garvey, a researcher at Georgetown University who studies facial recognition, law enforcement agencies in Chicago, Detroit, and other cities are already moving quickly to install them. In Detroit, the police have $1 million system that allows them to screen hundreds of private and public cameras set up around the city in gas stations, fast food restaurants, churches, apartment buildings, schools, and other places. The faces caught by these cameras can be searched in real time against Michigan's driver's license photo database. Detroit's police department says the problem isn't currently in use. The system, isn't currently in use. Still, civil liberties advocates argue that being able to observe and identify people at a distance could threaten their basic rights, such as the First Amendment right to free speech. People might be too fearful to attend a protest, for example, if they think they're being watched. Civil liberties proponents also worry that in the wrong hands, the technology could be used to monitor marginalized groups such as minorities or immigrants. This technology provides government with unprecedented power to track people going about their daily lives, says Matt Cagle, a lawyer at the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California. That's incompatible with a healthy democracy. Even some people involved with the companies creating this technology are speaking out against it. In May, many Amazon shareholders called on the company to prohibit sales of its facial recognition system, Amazon Recognition, to government agencies unless its board concludes that the technology doesn't contribute to human rights violations. Amazon, however, says it's not going to pull Recognition from the shelves. Privacy versus safety. Many people say there needs to be more disclosure about how the police are deploying facial recognition. There's a fundamental absence of transparency around when and how police use facial recognition technology, says Garvey of Georgetown. Its use is advancing rapidly, and that's outpacing Congress's ability to legislate it. So there are currently few regulations on how the police can deploy facial recognition. It's possible that the Supreme Court will one day have to weigh in on the issue. There is public safety value to this technology. Ultimately, the question is, how much of our privacy are we willing to give up to feel safe? Aaron Peskin, a San Francisco city supervisor, says the city's ban on facial recognition used by police is an attempt to strike the right balance. There are many ways to make our society secure without living in a security state, he told the Associated Press. And we have very good policing, but we don't want to live in a police state.